You clicked on this video not out of boredom, but because some part of you is unsettled. You've done everything they told you, followed every rule. And yet, something still feels off. Is this all there is? There's a question that whispers louder as time passes. What if you're not actually living your life? What if you've just been performing someone else's? Nietzsche saw it too. He didn't write to comfort. He wrote to awaken. And today, 13 truths he uncovered might just become the mirror you've been avoiding. But if even one of them hits too close to home, don't look away. You're not behind. You're just starting with the truth. Let's begin. You were never taught to think, you were taught to follow. From the moment you stepped into a classroom, raise your hand, sit still, repeat after me. But no one ever asked, what do you think? And so you learned the rhythm of obedience, not because you're weak, but because that's what the world rewards. Get the grades, say the right thing, nod when you're supposed to. It feels safe. It even looks smart. But beneath that polished performance is a mind that's never been allowed to roam freely. Nietzsche saw this long before social media, before algorithms, before groupthink. He warned, the crowd does not want you to think. It wants you to agree. And most people do, not out of malice, but out of fear, because thinking, truly thinking, is dangerous. It threatens systems. It threatens comfort. It threatens every version of you that was built on approval. So instead, you mimic success. You perform ambition. You echo opinions. You wear the mask that earns applause until one day you wake up. And the applause is still there. But you can't hear yourself anymore. You've traded your voice for validation, your originality for obedience, your freedom for belonging. And worst of all, you can't remember when it happened. But here's the truth Nietzsche handed down. It's not fate. It's not too late. It's just a pattern, and you can break it. You're not here to perform. You're here to think, to confront, to rebuild. And once that starts, even silently, nothing fake will ever feel safe again. What if the next lie is the comfort you keep calling peace? You say you want the truth, but do you really? Because truth isn't warm. It doesn't coddle. It doesn't whisper sweet nothings in your ear. Truth stings, truth shatters, truth strips away the stories you've used to survive. And most people, they don't want that. They want comfort dressed up as truth. They want soft lies with sharp edges removed. Nietzsche called it out again and again. He said people don't seek truth, they seek reassurance. They want the world to tell them you're fine. You're doing great, you're not the problem. But here's what he knew: comfort is a sedative. It feels good while it numbs, but it leaves you blind. And when truth finally breaks through, when it crashes into your life like a wave you didn't see coming, it doesn't ask if you're ready. That's when the world you built on denial begins to collapse. Think of all the things you avoid: that conversation, that mirror, that memory, not because they're evil, but because they're real. And reality is heavy when you've lived in a fantasy. But the truth, it doesn't need your permission. It just waits, and the longer you delay, the sharper its return. Nietzsche didn't fear the truth. He feared the cost of ignoring it, because the price of comfort is often your soul. So here's the question he'd ask you now. Would you rather be lulled by lies or pierced by what's real? And more importantly, will you still choose comfort when you know it's the reason you feel so lost? Some things don't hurt you until you stop running from them. Pain is not your enemy. It's the mirror no one taught you to look into. Most people flinch at the first sting. They run, they distract, they numb, because somewhere along the way they were told pain is a sign something's wrong. But Nietzsche, he saw it differently. He believed that to live is to suffer. And to survive is to find meaning in that suffering. Because what you fear reveals what you cling to. What breaks you reveals what you've abandoned. What you fight reveals what you believe you are. Pain isn't there to destroy you. It's there to introduce you to the parts of you you've ignored, the anger you bury, the sadness you mask. The longings you dismiss, they don't vanish, they wait. And the longer you avoid them, the louder they become. Nietzsche didn't glorify pain, he respected it, because pain is precise. It shows you the exact spot you stop being honest with yourself. But we treat pain like poison, something to eliminate, silence, medicate. But all that does is make it grow in the dark, until one day it erupts. And it doesn't ask for permission, it floods your relationships, it burns through your goals, it shouts in your silence. But here's the paradox: the moment you stop resisting it, the moment you lean in, is the moment it begins to teach. Because only pain can break the shell that no longer fits you. Only pain can strip away the performance and reveal the person. And when you finally face it, not to defeat it, but to listen, you'll realize pain wasn't the end. It was the invitation to become someone stronger than what broke you. But what if the real danger wasn't the pain, but the version of you it exposed? You were told to be kind, to be polite, to be agreeable, to always give, always yield. But no one told you this. Kindness without strength makes you a target. Nietzsche saw it clearly. He didn't romanticize softness. He warned that predators don't respect it, they exploit it. Takers don't stop because you're generous, they take more. People don't treat you well because you're nice. They treat you how they're allowed. And without strength, without boundaries, without truth, without the ability to say no, your kindness becomes currency they spend freely. You shrink your voice, you hide your needs, you break your own back just to keep the peace. But Nietzsche asked, what kind of peace is that? Peace without power isn't peace. It's submission, and the world doesn't reward submission. It rewards strategy, presence, power grounded in truth. That's why the kind person with strength that changes lives. But the kind person without it, they get used, forgotten, broken. And only then do they ask, why does everyone take advantage of me? The answer isn't cruelty, it's clarity, because kindness without truth is just performance. And the more you perform, the more you lose yourself in the role. Nietzsche didn't want you to stop being kind. He wanted you to stop being powerless. Because real kindness can only come from someone who knows how to fight, but chooses not to. So here's the quiet truth. You don't need to stop being kind. You just need to stop being small, and when you do, you'll start to see who was never really with you. Everyone talks about motivation. They chase it, wait for it, scroll endlessly hoping it'll strike like lightning. But Nietzsche, he laughed at that, because he knew motivation is fragile. It disappears the moment life gets hard. Real growth isn't built on feeling inspired. It's built on something deeper: self-respect. Think about it. You brush your teeth, not because you're motivated, but because it's who you are. You show up, not because it's easy, but because it means something. Nietzsche understood discipline isn't punishment, it's identity. It's choosing to act, even when every emotion tells you not to. Because if your behavior depends on mood, your life will depend on chaos. But when your behavior depends on values, even on your worst day, you show up like someone who matters. That's what discipline really is, the act of treating your future self with dignity. But most people, they wait. They say, I'll do it when I feel ready. I'll start when the time is right. But deep down, they don't have a motivation problem. They have a self-respect problem. They've broken too many promises to themselves. And now, they don't believe their own word. But that changes when you stop chasing a mood and start honoring a mission. Because who you become is built not in the highlight moments, but in the quiet ones. The ones no one sees, the mornings you show up tired, the nights you say no to the easy out. That's where strength lives, not in hype, but in habits. And when you understand that, you become unstoppable, because motivation fades, but self-respect, that's forever. Everyone says they support you until you start to grow, until you change, until you rise, until your reflection no longer fits their narrative of you, and suddenly the applause fades, the messages slow down, the The jokes start to sting, and you feel it, that quiet shift in energy. Nietzsche saw this betrayal coming. He knew that people don't consciously want you to fail, but they also don't truly want you to evolve, not if your growth threatens their comfort, not if your ambition exposes their complacency, because your success becomes a mirror. It shows them what they could have done. It challenges the roles they've assigned you. It disturbs the balance they quietly relied on. So when you start setting boundaries, when you chase a calling instead of approval, when you become unrecognizable in the best way, they'll say, "You've changed." And you have, because you stopped shrinking. You stopped apologizing for your potential. And that is terrifying to people who never faced theirs. Most people only understand this truth after the loss of friendships that felt eternal, of partners who said forever, of circles that once felt safe. But those connections were with the version of you who never asked for more. Now you do. And that doesn't make you wrong, it makes you real. Because real growth isn't about being liked. It's about becoming someone you can't abandon anymore. So if people start leaving when you start rising, let them. It just means they were holding on to the old you, the one who kept themselves small so no one else had to feel uncomfortable, and you're not that person anymore. There's a part of you you've been taught to hide: the anger, the jealousy, the selfishness, the shame. They told you to push it down, to be good, to be nice, to be harmless. But Nietzsche, like Jung after him, knew the truth, that hidden part of you, the one you're afraid to show, that's your shadow. And the more you deny it, the more control it has over you. Because what's buried doesn't die, it seeps into your decisions, into your tone, into the cravings you can't explain, the patterns you repeat, the relationships you sabotage. People think being good means being clean, but real strength comes from knowing your darkness, because the person who understands their shadow isn't ruled by it. Imagine your shadow as a child, locked in a basement, ignored, unloved, misunderstood. What does it do? It screams, it breaks things, it acts out, not because it's evil, but because it wants to be seen. And the longer you pretend it's not there, the louder it gets, until one day it explodes. You say something you regret, you burn a bridge, you quit what matters, you hurt someone you love, and then you ask, "Why did I do that?" The answer: you didn't, your shadow did. And you never learned how to talk to it. But Nietzsche believed the shadow isn't your curse, it's your path. Because when you stop running, when you turn and face it, when you listen, it transforms from monster to mirror, from saboteur to ally. Because your shadow holds the parts of you you needed to survive, and now to evolve. So the next time something dark rises up, don't silence it, ask it, what are you trying to protect? Because sometimes the part of you you're most afraid of is the part that can set you free. People-pleasing looks like kindness, it feels safe. It sounds generous. It wins applause. But Nietzsche saw the truth beneath it. People-pleasing is fear wearing a smile. It's the fear of rejection, so you agree. It's the fear of confrontation, so you stay quiet. It's the fear of being alone, so you become who they want. But every yes, that isn't true, every "I'm fine" that isn't real, takes you further from yourself. And slowly, without knowing, you train the world to love your mask, not your truth. And here's the tragedy. One day you wake up, surrounded by people yet completely unknown, and you ask, why does no one see the real me? Because you hid it to be liked, to be safe, to be enough. But Nietzsche would tell you that's not love, that's performance, and the cost: your clarity, your voice, your peace. Because when you live to please, you second-guess every word, you walk on eggshells in your own life. And the worst part, they still might leave, and now you've abandoned yourself too. But it doesn't have to stay that way. You can start saying no. You can disappoint others to stop betraying yourself, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity, because living authentically will always contradict someone's expectation of you. But that contradiction, that's the price of truth, and it's a price worth paying. So the next time you feel the pull to please, pause, ask yourself, am I choosing them or choosing me? Because peace doesn't come from being liked by everyone. It comes from being true to someone, you. You did everything right, checked every box, got the degree, found the job, played the role, and yet, there's this emptiness, quiet, persistent, like you reached the summit only to find the view didn't match the promise. Nietzsche warned us of this. He said, you can live perfectly and still feel hollow. Why? Because following rules is not the same as following truth. Society rewards obedience, not authenticity. And when you confuse structure for substance, you build a life that looks complete, but feels counterfeit. So you wonder, why don't I feel whole? It's because you followed someone else's map to a destination that was never yours. And now there's too much to undo. Too much invested, too many people watching, so you numb it, distract from it, smile through it. But Nietzsche offered another way, not more effort, not more success, more truth. Start asking, what's mine to do? What is this moment really asking of me? Not to abandon your life, but to reclaim it, because the clock is ticking, and that's not a threat. It's a mirror. Nietzsche didn't fear death, he used it. He asked, if you had to live this exact life over and over, would you? And most people can't say yes, but you still can, because today you're not asleep. You're not pretending, you're listening, and that's where it begins. Truth hurts, but it also heals. It strips away the roles, the masks, the noise. And what's left is you, not the perfect you, not the liked you, not the safe you, the free you. And that is worth everything. So tell me, which truth cracked something open? Which one still scares you? Comment below, let it out, let it begin. And if something in this video made you feel seen, stick around. We're building a place for those who want more than applause, a place for truth even when it's hard. Because you're not behind, you're just starting with the truth.